Good morning to everyone. I just want to make you aware that council meetings are available live through Zoom, and recordings may be posted online on County of Huron's YouTube channel. You may be seen and or heard as part of these broadcasts, and your name, comments, and or presentation materials will become part of the public record. And with that, I want to welcome Councillors Anderson and Dietrich virtually, and going to call this meeting to order. Starting off with the Warden's remarks, last week was the FCM conference in Ottawa, and the theme was Stronger Together, and a good opportunity to do some networking with fellow municipal leaders from across the country. And the theme certainly came through with all the presentations throughout the conference. And usually, as it turns out, we're all dealing with the same root issues and all struggling as to how to get to the right answers. So it's good to get together and share some of those experiences that work, and also those that don't, so that maybe we don't repeat all the same mistakes. But a good conference and a good turnout of representatives from all across the country at that. With that, I'm going to go on to the approval of the agenda. Is there someone willing to do that? That's Councillor Harding and Councillor Ginn. Those in favor? And that is carried. Is there any pecuniary interest to disclose at this time? Seeing none, we're going to go to the minutes of our previous meeting. And if there's any errors or omissions to address, make us aware of that. And if not, I'd be looking for a motion to adopt. And that's past Warden McNeil and Councillor Bazinet. Those in favor? And that is carried. And under delegations, we have Jessica Linthorne with us to present from the Nuclear Innovation Institute. And Jessica, welcome. And when you're ready, you take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Thanks for having me today. I'm always grateful to come and speak with Council. I better not say that I love coming to Huron Council the most, because I would maybe be untrue on that. I love coming to all of the councils, but certainly I appreciate sitting in the gallery here and hearing the chit chat and just seeing the camaraderie amongst all of you. So I just wanted to comment with that. So thank you for having me. I'm here today to talk to you about our 2024 annual report. So we are halfway through the year already in 25, which is hard to believe. But we have been very successful in the last year, and it's really because of the support and the collaboration that we have with all of our partners. So with that, I'll ask for next slide. So at the NII, and I know I've been here before, so you have heard from me in different contexts, whether it's through the Isotope Coalition or whether it's through the Clean Energy Frontier and Economic Impact. But today, sort of that wholesome approach, that overview of our annual report. And really at the NII, we celebrate innovation, not as invention, but as change and as improvement. And so we do that through a strategic approach in collaboration with partners. We take an innovative approach to our work, and in particular, an innovative approach to public policy support, economic development, skill development, nuclear sector research, and with a number of innovative projects for the sector as well. Next slide, please. NII is a not-for-profit, nonprofit organization, and we're member-based. And so with that, our founding members include AtkinsRéalis, Bruce Power, BWXT, Cameco, ES Fox, and Kinetrix. We also have a special agreement with the Power Workers Union and the municipality of the town of Saugeen Shores. Next slide, please. So as mentioned, we really focus on that collaborative approach. We work with those founding members, we work with our municipal partners, we work with the local business community, and we do know that it will take all of us to work together to have that leadership. Next slide, please. So I do want to acknowledge that the NII is located on the territory of the Anishinaabe Nation, the people of the Three Fires, known as the Ojibwa, Chippewas, Ottawa, and Potawatomi nations, now homeland of the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, the keepers of the land. We also recognize the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. I also want to recognize that the Bruce Power site, the energy production and the medical isotope production is on the territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. Next slide, please. So we have a vision at the Nuclear Innovation Institute to really celebrate nuclear technology, to celebrate this as an integral part of our clean energy future. We know it will take all of the tools in the toolbox as we work towards our clean energy future, and we do see nuclear as an integral part, and we'll continue to do that through that Canadian lens. Next slide, please. So our mission at the organization includes these 3 pillars. So I'll speak to each of these throughout the presentation today: industry voice, skill development, and industry advancement. And as we move through the slides, I hope that you can see yourselves in each one of these slides and each one of these pillars in a different way. Next slide, please. So when we think about our industry voice portfolio, this is where we do a tremendous amount of work with our municipal partners. This is where we see our Isotope Coalition program, our Clean Energy Frontier program, the Clean Energy Frontier Summit as a conference event, as a photo here, and we're looking forward to bringing that back. This is also the portfolio where we are aligning on environment projects in partnership with Bruce Power. We are aligning on advocacy efforts. And so I'll ask for the next slide, please, while we move through. But it really is this key platform as we look at energy topics. Next slide, please. This portfolio is led by my colleague, Chad Richards. And again, it is about having that new lens, that aligned lens, and that advocacy effort working together, again, to protect our environment for future generations and shaping the economy. Next slide, please. I'll get you to just keep going. Thanks, Susan. We have an environment program. I believe my colleague Stephanie was here not too long ago to talk about the climate project. And this is a portfolio within the industry voice mandate through the Bruce Power Nexus Research Center that's having a look at the impacts of climate change at that local context. And so that's a really important piece of the work that we're doing, and we hope that our municipal partners can leverage that knowledge. Next slide, please. Thank you. Get you to keep going. Thanks, Susan. So moving into that second pillar, as I mentioned, we've got the 3. So that was our industry voice I've just talked about. I'm going to quickly talk about skill development. Our skill development portfolio, it includes really the mandate and the opportunity to engage with youth and a potential workforce for the clean energy sector. And we do this through a variety of programs to support broader workforce needs. And so whether that be through our energy co-op program, that's a photo of the group here, or our STEM education programs, or even our day camps that we offer in partnership with Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. Next slide, please. So we do this through, as mentioned, that STEM education with our schools. And I do know that some local schools from Huron County have been very participatory in our Science Olympics events, but then also our staff have come into Huron County to speak with some of your students at the elementary level as well. Skilled trades and training, we have through our building out at the campus, close to the Bruce Power site, we have welding bays available. We have lots of space to be able to bring people together and have a focus and an emphasis on skilled trades opportunity. But then also that advanced education and learning, where we're working in partnership with post-secondary institutes to offer some programming closer to home. Next slide. So as mentioned, the skilled trades is a tremendous opportunity, and we see that as a workforce need for the clean energy sector, but we also recognize the general shortage when it comes to skilled trades. And so when we think about growth and community development, we recognize that we will need skilled trade workers to help with that continued growth and infrastructure projects and housing developments as well. Next slide, please. Next slide. So as mentioned, we have done some post-secondary partnerships. There's a quote here in the deck from a student that participated in our project management program in partnership with Schulich. I would like to offer and make the invitation to Huron County that we have had some of the other counties in the area join in bringing staff groups to participate in this particular project management program. There's efficiency there, cost savings by having that closer to home, and also just that, again, that opportunity for our workforce to continue to grow and develop, where we can save some time and money by not sending people away for education and group rate. Next slide, please. Again, some photos of our STEM education. We're really excited about our relationship with Saugeen Ojibwe Nation and the opportunities this summer. We've got, I think I read the other day, we have 85 students signed up for a day camp program. And so we're looking forward to continuing that relationship. Next slide. Next slide. All this content's in the deck, so you can certainly have a read over it and ask any questions at any time. The industry advancement portfolio. So we've talked industry voice, we've done skill development. So when it comes to industry advancement, this is where we are looking at efficiencies for the nuclear sector, representing our founding members, where we are looking to save time and money without compromising safety. And so we do this through small incremental change. I'll get next slide, please. And our small incremental change and this portfolio really following a Kaizen approach, which is just that. It's about finding efficiencies and making change along the way. What we recognize is that with a number of these small incremental changes, we are improving operations and efficiencies. At our organization and in partnership with Bruce Power, we really come back to the test of three. Is a project making life better for the worker? Is it making operations better at the plant? And is it increasing the opportunity for safety overall? And so if all of these projects we're looking at meet one of these criteria, then that's the type of work we're doing. Next slide, please. Again, and with that said, we have the Kaizen program, we have a research and innovation stream of projects as well. And I'll share with you that some of the projects that we are doing have a potential to have a municipal opportunity created for you. And so, for example, we are working right now, moving forward on a project around concrete inspection technology. And so as this discussion was shaping up, you know, we're listening and learning about this technology, but I appreciate that we don't just inspect concrete in the nuclear sector. I recognize that our municipal partners also are inspecting concrete. And so there's opportunities here, and I'll look forward to sharing some more information on that project specifically with you. Next slide, please. Next slide. So in closing, I'll just share that, you know, James Sconiac, I know James has also been in front of Huron County Council. I have the privilege of working with James as our board chair, and we are committed to engagement. We are committed to collaboration. And I know that as we continue the work that we're doing, our portfolio for 2025, moving all of this work forward, I'll be back here next year with the 25 annual report, and we'll continue to celebrate that collaboration. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jessica. Thank you for the overview of what's going on at NII. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to council for any comments and questions. And I believe Councillor Basnet.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Warden. Thank you, Jessica, for a fantastic presentation. Want to compliment you first on all the work that you and your staff do at NII, especially with the youth engagement and skilled trades. You know, the small industries that we have, and just particularly in the town of Goderich, have always stressed to us at council the need for skilled trade employees, and they're struggling to find that. So the work that you're doing is helping with that. With all the projects that you're doing at NII and your staff, of course, it's not just you, but you mentioned about opportunities for municipalities. I look at Kaizen as a possible opportunity. Can you elaborate a little more on some of the things that would be an opportunity for municipalities?
Through you, Mr. Warden, to Councillor Basnet, thanks for the question. Actually, first of all, thank you for the comment with regards to youth engagement. It's really important for us as well when we think about workforce and just the future. One of the campaigns that we are working on is to say to students in the region of Bruce Grey and Huron, it's okay if you want to leave and have an education and meet some new people and do something else, but you're always welcome home. And I always preface that with saying, yeah, welcome home, but like, don't move back in with mom and dad, right? But you're always welcome home back to this region because we have jobs for you. We have a tremendous amount of opportunity here, and you can live where you want, and you can be on the lake, and you can be golfing with your mom and dad and living the lifestyle that you like with a good, reliable job. So thank you for that comment around youth. We're really proud of that work. With regards to your question on municipal opportunity, so I referenced the concrete inspection project, and I see that as one starting point. I'm really excited. Prior to joining the nuclear sector, I worked in municipal government, so I have a real appreciation and the lens for some of the infrastructure challenges and some of the challenges, quite frankly, that our municipal colleagues encounter every day. And so I have always said to the board, my board, and also to my colleagues, you know, there's not a lot different between nuclear and municipal, and in that comment meaning infrastructure. So the nuclear sector, major infrastructure projects with major component replacement, it's an infrastructure project. I grabbed a coffee this morning at Kate's Cafe, and to no surprise, there's a major infrastructure project happening right here. So I appreciate that you are maintaining roads and bridges and other infrastructure under the ground, just as Bruce Power and our nuclear partners are as well. So as we move through some of these projects and we determine and find efficiencies or new technology, again, going back to my opening comment, I don't believe innovation needs to be invention. Innovation is about finding a technology in some cases and implementing it a way that makes sense for us, and it's creating change. So I am approaching the work with the lens of we have good relationships with our colleagues at all 3 counties. And as we continue to learn and grow, I want to share that with you. So I just, with that, emphasize that our relationship is important, and we're really grateful for the continued support from our colleagues at Bruce Grey and Huron County.
Any other questions or comments for Jessica? Past Warden Ginn.
Yeah, Jessica, I'm just intrigued by this concrete inspection. Are we talking like new concrete, poured concrete? Or are we talking old concrete that may have hazardous material in it?
So the concrete, through you, Mr. Warden, to the councillor. So the concrete inspection project that we are looking at right now, it's in partnership with Strathclyde University out of Scotland. They work closely with the Advanced Nuclear Research Centre. And so they have a novel technology to inspect concrete. And so we are learning more about that, just entering into an agreement. So I'm cautious on how much I share at this point, but it's really a technology demonstration. So the opportunity for this researcher to come and show us the technology that they have and that they are building and leveraging and commercializing to inspect concrete. And so at all stages of that concrete's life.
Okay, any other questions or comments? And if not, then I'd be looking for a motion to receive this report from Jessica. So that's Councillor Noel and Councillor Finch would second that. Those in favor. And that is carried. Thank you very much, Jessica. So we're now at the point where we're looking for any councillor comments, if there be some. Past Warden McNeil, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Warden. And last Friday morning, I was fortunate to be able to attend the Bruce Power Municipal Leaders Breakfast in Walkerton. And Jessica was a great presenter at that on behalf of NII, and also James Scaniak on behalf of Bruce Power. And it was a very insightful meeting from the standpoint that information was shared that is beneficial to all 3 counties that are involved with Bruce Power and NII. And it was great to hear the on-the-ground facts of what not only has happened, what is happening, the challenges and the opportunities as far as moving forward. And it was a very worthwhile breakfast. And thank you very much to NII and to Bruce Power for hosting it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other? Past Warden Ginn.
Yeah, thank you. We had a correspondence to my municipality on Monday night, and it had to do with an invasive tree species, which is Norway maple, which has been widely planted and continues to be widely planted. And the resident asked that we do something to slow that down because it's has the potential to replace our sugar maple trees. I wasn't sure where to go with it, nor was my council, but we follow the county tree bylaw, and so I didn't know if there was room for that or through our county biologist, but we didn't feel we had the capacity. So if anyone can enlighten us on any possibilities, that I'm thinking maybe Dave Pullen could comment on that, or our biologist. But since we follow the county bylaw, I think that's maybe where something would need to happen. Thank you.
And CAO work will respond to that.
Thanks very much. Through you, Mr. Chair, if Central Huron is interested in the county engaging in discussion on it, perhaps sending the correspondence through to County Council, and then at that point, Council can request a report back, and we can look into the issue for Central Huron.
All right, thank you. Any other councillor comments? All right, there is a consent agenda with 6 items on it. If there's any specific item anybody wants to draw attention to, now's your chance. Past Warden McLeod.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Just a question for Mike. Under the capital grants, we seem to be about $3 million behind from the province, although their operating funding appears to be up to date. I was just curious why there's a discrepancy there.
Treasurer Blumhagen.
Through yourself, I'd have to look at the statements just to see which ones we're referring to. It's just usually timing issues for the most part. Normally when we set up our budgets, we just do 1/12 of our provincial funding each month. But then as we're recognizing the revenue throughout the year, I'm not expecting a shortfall at the end of the day. It's just most likely a timing difference, but I'd have to look at the specific one that you're looking at. So, but if you'd like, you could just send me an email exactly on the one that you're looking at, and I can respond at the next meeting. So,
I'm fine with that answer. I'll check it next month, and hopefully it's up to date.
All right. Anything else on the consent agenda? Not seeing any, so I would look for a motion to approve with actions as noted, and that's Councillor Klopp and Councillor Becker would second that. Those in favor? And that is carried. And under planning and development, I do want to introduce Ellie Gibson and ask council to join me in welcoming her. Ellie is the environmental student at this summer in the planning and development department. Ellie is a recent graduate from Western University's biology program, specializing in biodiversity, conservation, and ecosystem management, with work experience in conservation and research. Ellie grew up in Woodstock and now lives in St. Mary's. She grew up spending time along Lake Huron when visiting family in Goderich, which sparked her interest in the county's natural spaces. So Ellie, welcome, and we certainly wish you well with your time with us here at the county. And Sandra Weber is here to present to us the...
Mr. Warden, if I might interject,
apologies.
that sounds like a perfect resume to deal with the question that I raised a little earlier.
So we'll look for your recommendation at our next meeting. All right. Sandra Weber is here to present to us the Ontario Building Faster and Smarter Act, Bill 17. So go ahead, Sandra.
Good morning, and thank you, Warden Heffer. This report is for information of council on some more legislation that has been introduced by the province. It's called Bill 17, Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act 2025. The intention of the act is to make it easier and faster to build housing and infrastructure. The legislation did receive first reading on May the 12th, and it includes changes to a number of acts, the Building Code Act, Development Charges Act, and the Planning Act. The posting said that the commenting period was June the 11th, was open till June the 11th for the legislation and June the 26th for the regulations. However, I did hear on the news last night that the province has gone ahead and passed the bill in advance of the commenting period. So I believe the only outstanding part of the legislation is the regulations with the more details. So I will just go ahead and just highlight a few of the things that will have an effect on planning in Huron County. The first one is regarding complete application requirements. So the legislation will allow the minister to make a regulation enabling them to limit the reports or studies that can be required as part of a complete application. And in particular, they're looking at excluding certain studies, including sun, shadow, wind, urban design, and lighting reports. So those are just a few of them. They are going to take a look, and the regulations said they are going to take a look at sort of the full list of studies that municipalities are requiring and see if they can sort of standardize that or shorten that list in some way. It also indicates that municipalities would require written approval from the minister before they can add any new study requirements through their official plan complete application requirements. So, we're sort of waiting to see how this legislation wording, how specific the wording is before we would bring council back the county official plan amendment that we just held the public meeting on, just to make sure that we're in line with the new legislation. It also looks at certified professionals, so that if a report submitted in support of an application is prepared by a qualified or certified professional, it's deemed to meet the requirements of a complete application. They're also streamlining planning approvals for schools, so there would no longer be a requirement for site plan approval for placing portables at school properties, which would speed things up. Also allowing kindergarten to grade 12 public schools and accessory uses such as childcare facilities to be located as of right on a residentially zoned property. Wanting to speed up the process and allow those as of right in our residential areas. The last one is an interesting one. It's called variations to minor variances. So the purpose of this one, I think, is to reduce the number of minor variances for housing related developments. So the province is looking at passing some regulation that would allow, as of right, setbacks to be varied without going through the minor variance process. So they're looking at a 10% automatic variance. So for example, if a front yard setback was 5 meters, the applicant would be able to encroach into that 0.5 meters or 10% reduction without having to come to councils for approval for that. So just keep in mind that's what we understand is that's for urban residential lands on full municipal services. So it would allow for those types of variances to happen as of right without having to come back to council. So that's sort of it in a nutshell. As I mentioned, we'll watch for the corresponding regulations with more details and can bring back further information to councils. And I think there was also the same report was also going out to your local councils for discussion as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. I believe Councillor Klopp has a question.
Yeah, thank you. You answered my first one there on the application requirement. On certified professional, having quotations, it's in quotations here, prescribed professions. I realize it'll be under the new regs, fair enough, but what is your sense of a professional, prescribed professional? Do you have an example?
Yeah, I guess that's to be determined through the regulations, but it's maybe if someone is a certified or qualified engineer, then the report would be accepted as a complete application. I think what has happened is when the province had passed legislation requiring fees to be refunded if applications didn't get through the process in a certain amount of time, that sort of spurred municipalities to start requiring peer reviews of studies in advance of deeming applications complete. Otherwise, they weren't able to meet the time frame and fees would have to be refunded. The province got rid of that fee refund requirement. So I think this is sort of just taking things back to where we maybe were previous to that, where, we get the studies, the application is deemed complete, and then we start into the peer review process through the processing of the application. So that's sort of my take on it, but I guess we'll see sort of how the regulations unfold.
And just when you talked about the minor variance, so if right now, if you have a 4.5% minor variance, then it would be 10% of the 4.5. If you use an example of 5.
Yeah.
So basically what it means is now there's a 10% line in there that you don't have to get a minor variance.
Correct.
On whatever your side yards are in our municipality.
Yeah.
Okay.
My understanding that there are going to be regulations that clarify these details for that as well. But my understanding right now is that they're looking at sort of setback requirements, but also considering whether they should apply that to lot coverage and height as well. So I guess I will watch the regulations to see how that unfolds. But yes, you're correct. It would give like a 10% leeway in setbacks for housing.
Okay, yep, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor McLeod.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. It's more or less just a comment through you to Sandra. Thank you very much, Sandra, for the report. It's very frustrating to see municipalities and conservation authorities protect different areas and stuff over the years. Green areas, stuff like that, green cover, and then just to see it probably mean nothing at all in the end, or very little, that maybe the minister can come in and override that. I mean, it's just frustrating. And some of the readings I've done on it too, and I know it's not your department, but the building code, for instance, from what I understand, they're probably relaxing some of the efficiencies in there, like more insulation and things like that for houses and fuel efficient furnaces, things like that. So to me, it's one step forward and 3 steps backwards. But anyway, it's just a comment. Frustration. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any others? Seeing no other hands, then I'd be looking for a motion to receive this report. So that's Councillor Vanstone and Past Warden Ginn would second that. Those in favor, and that is carried. We're moving on to cultural services, and we have a report on an offsite storage for the museum. And Beth Rumble's here to present this report to us. Welcome, Beth.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you, I'll just provide a bit of a reminder in the background of this report and why it's being brought forward to Council today. It initially stemmed from some of the service level review discussions that we had, that Council requested further information on some of the storage concerns that we had at the museum. And when that report came forward, Council requested further information about potential options that came forward as a terms of reference earlier this year, or actually last year, sorry. And this is the report being forward with some costing information for Council's consideration. Just a couple of other points with respect to the report. Reminder that this is a Class D construction estimate that is used for those early planning stage processes. Also, the report outlines a little bit about the prescribed requirements for a facility that houses artifacts, because that's different than just a traditional structure. And it also covers some of the potential impacts if collecting artifacts can no longer continue when we do reach capacity, how that would impact some of the services going forward. Happy to respond to any questions from council members.
All right. Is there any questions from council? Past Warden McLeod.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you to Beth, it was more the last comment you had there that where my interest is. Spending the $12 million on a facility is not necessarily the worst thing. If it's a building you're going to have for 100 years, other than your operational maintenance costs, it's not something that should cost a lot more after it's built because of what it's doing. And I'm still concerned about what the actual game plan is for what it is we're going to keep and how much stuff we're going to keep down the road. Because once this one gets filled up, there's always new artifacts. History is continually happening. Where do we draw the line, or do we put something in place that says, you know what, we may have had this for 300 years, but this is not what we need to be displaying anymore, and we don't need to store it. How are we going to find a finite spot where this is what we need for requirements for Huron County to show their history?
Yeah.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Warden. A couple of pieces with respect to that. I think we are becoming a lot more intentional about what we do take into our collection. So we're already taking steps to be really strategic about what we are choosing to add. For example, about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now, we developed our collection plan that highlights what we have in our collection, so we know where we no longer need to collect items, or at least we don't need the same wedding dress from the same era because we already have one in our collection. So that's really important, that we now have a very good understanding of what we have in our collection. So when donations are brought forward, we can make those decisions about whether it is needed or not to tell the stories of Huron County. We do also have our collections committee that staff are regularly bringing forward items for deaccessioning to them, that then come to county council, so that again we could discuss if we need to do a more intensive deaccessioning project. In the case of the situation, should we move forward and build a new facility, that would be another opportunity if we are going through and touching all of our artifacts to really look at them closely and determine which ones have deteriorated in quality, that sometimes can happen over time, that need to be deaccessioned. Are we noticing duplicates that we haven't caught already? Those types of processes are something that we could do as well. You are correct that time does continue on, and there are new stories that we want to tell that at some point today will be history, and artifacts from today will be valuable to people 100 years from now. So we do need to constantly be making those tough decisions. Yeah.
Councillor Vanstone and then Councillor Klopp.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I'd just like to say that I hope that the County Council looks at this in a really bright light, because there's a lot of artifacts, and a lot of municipalities now are downloading artifacts to the county because costs of keeping separate buildings. So, and once these artifacts are gone, they're gone, and our history's gone with them. So I would like to see us proceed with this if we can. I know it's a lot of money, but once our history's gone, and we should rely on history, as you can see what the world's doing right now, they're going back to the time when we're going to be in war, which I don't think is right. So we need to preserve our history. So I hope Huron County will look at this favorably. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Klopp.
Thank you. Appreciate the comment, and we're not making a decision today. This is for information, but help me out here. The size of the building, how much material are we taking, do we have now that will fill there? And what is your, and you probably have it in there, but I missed it. But anyway, how long do you think it would take then to fill this plus the building we have with storage, with stuff?
Go ahead, Beth.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Warden. I can attempt to answer your question. The size estimation is based roughly on a consultant's report that was completed in 2014 that assessed that a building of this size, based on the rate we were collecting at that time, would be sufficient for about 20 to 25 years. The intention would be that all of the physical artifacts that are at the museum would move to this facility, and the space at the museum would be for archival storage. Again, to the point I was making earlier, I think even in the last 10 years, we have become much more aware of the impacts of storage, and that our rate of collecting, aside from the somewhat large collections that we have taken on from some lower tier municipalities, that we are attempting to slow the rate of collecting and being a lot more intentional about what we do take in.
Very good.
Microphone.
Okay, any others? Past Warden again.
Yeah, I think myself, like most people, were a little sticker shocked at the price tag of it. I found it quite interesting that other counties are facing the same idea. And I made the comment before, you know, we have to decide whether we're in this business or not in this business. So, yeah, I look forward to a financial analysis of it and how, you know, we could pay for it and over what time and out of what budgets. But appreciate the report. I think it's something we have to consider very seriously. Thank you.
Councillor Heffer.
Yes, thank you, Warden. I just looking over the different numbers here, I just didn't notice anything in there about the cost of this size of building. Like, do we have property? I'm just curious if that number was put in and I just missed it maybe. Thank you.
Beth?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Warden. There currently are 2 offsite storage sheds located just north of Goderich. So the intention would be that we already have the land to construct the buildings on, so that's not included in the costing.
And CAO Work has some comments as well.
Yeah, through you to County Council. As it stands now, this report is being received for information purposes. No further action is being taken unless there's a motion from Council requesting further action on this. So, you know, I think there is the sense that Council assumes that further action would be taken. That isn't the case unless County Council requests further action to be taken. Our intention was to put this information in front of you. If you wish for staff to further investigate, just an awareness though, again for County Council, that if we're spending time investigating, that's staff time and money that's being spent on investigating. And if the intention is not to move forward with a project like this, then, you know, for staff not to spend a ton more time on investigating. So that is my position as CAO.
Thank you for those comments. Back to Council. Any further questions regarding the report? And if there is not, then some direction moving forward. Past Warden McNeil.
I would like to move the receipt of this report for information purposes.
Okay, a motion for receiving the report. Councillor Heffer would second that. Any discussion on that motion? Those in favor of that motion? And that is carried. All right. Thank you, Beth. We're going to move on to item 11 on our agenda. administration, policies, and other issues. And our CAO, Megan, is going to speak to our lobbying strategy that's been presented by Aaron Samuel.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Warden. Again, this is as a result of the priority setting that County Council engaged in a few months ago. And just an awareness piece for County Council. We have listed the number of organizations that senior staff at the corporation that they participate in, and certainly a certain amount of advocacy happens informally through those networks. As a result of the direction of Council, submission to the AMO conference for 3 delegations has already been made. And that is for increased provincial funding for housing and homelessness projects, ensure equitable funding for rural communities, and then finally and or reduce provincial downloading. And as well as the warden and I have put through a request to our local MPP to sit down and have conversations with her as well about these 3 priority areas. So again, putting this in front of County Council for information purposes, and happy to answer any questions Council may have.
Past Warden McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Just a question. I'd raised an issue about a month ago about there's kind of a conflict between maintaining farmland and building more houses. Would that fall under item number 2? Because in my opinion, if we build more houses, have more population, it would potentially bring down the cost of property taxes to each individual. But if we're trying to maintain the farmland, then I think we need more funding from the province to keep us on a level playing field. Was that intended to be part of that discussion?
And CAO work will respond to that.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Warden. The intention of that particular item was in relation to housing and homelessness programs, because there is discrepancy in the kind of funding that we receive in rural communities as compared to our urban counterparts. And so that generally was the I know the delegation that was submitted was specifically focused on that one particular topic. So no, that was not included within the scope of the request.
Follow up.
If you're having a sit down with our MPP, could you just kind of slide it across the table and see what kind of comments you get?
I believe there's already been some notes scribbled out regarding that. So yes, the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Klopp.
If you're looking for a motion to receive the report, I will do that.
Okay, then a motion put forward to receive. Councillor Finch would second that. Those in favor? And that is carried. And our asset management plan, and Michael Blumhagen is here to speak to that. So Michael, when you're ready.
Thank you, Warden Heffer. So just before I get into to my report, just circling back to the financial statements, I did have a look at the statements. It's our capital funding. It's primarily the OSIF funding that we have recorded. So essentially it was like 9 million, and we do essentially 1/12 each month on that. So it's strictly a timing issue with our capital works expenditures. So that's funding that is tied into public works, roads and bridges and whatnot. So as we complete those projects, you'll see the expenditures for that, and that variance will shrink. But unless we just change our methodology in terms of how we just do our monthly allocations, you'll continue to see that variance through the fall. So it's strictly OSIF related, and it's just timing issue. Okay. And also with the previous report with the museum storage, that particular proposal or facility is not embedded in the numbers that I'll be presenting today as part of the asset management plan. So I just wanted to assess that. But in terms of financing, we'd be looking at, in terms of debt financing is what we'd be looking at for that particular project. 1% impact on the levy over 20-year debt is about $7.2 million in terms of financing that would be available. So if you're looking at what that potentially could cost, we'd be in that 1 to 1.5% impact on the levy if we were to debt finance such a size of a project. So about 7.2 million, 20-year debt is about 1% equivalent on our levy. So just for reference of that. Okay, so getting into this particular report, we are looking, or I'm recommending approval of our asset management plan and also our strategic asset management policy. So really no changes for the strategic asset management policy, just one date change for the provincial policy statement. That's something that we have to review every 5 years. So it's just before you today for a refresh. In terms of the asset management plan, I'm not going to get into a whole lot of details on that, but I will speak high level to some of the numbers that are in there. So as you recall, for 2025, the province required us by July 1st to provide an asset management plan that addressed proposed levels of service for all of our assets and the financing or life cycle costing associated with those proposed levels of service. So given the resources that we do have, both staff and software resources, we tried to address this as best we could, given what the resources that we have. But we do feel that we meet the requirements as set out in legislation. So I just want to thank all the staff who have worked on this plan for all of the support bringing this together. So currently, the only changes that we are proposing in terms of these proposed enhancements for future service levels are really with respect to EMS. And those are based on those recommendations that were received as part of the ORH report. So we'd be looking at future base relocation, potentially to Seaforth. Plus, there was a number of years where we were looking at upstaffing staff and also vehicles as well. So I have included those estimates in this financial strategy or in this draft plan. So some of the updates to the plan, aside from these proposed levels of service, we updated public works, roads, bridges, and the large culverts. So we did the replacement and life cycle cost for those assets. All the other assets remained as the 2024 plan, and we really didn't get into looking at the replacement cost for those particular assets. So really, this plan was to focus on the proposed levels of service, plus we wanted to do a good refresh on our public works. So the financial strategy that is included in the draft plan really has been impacted by our significant reserve usage for the Gibbon Street project. So if you recall prior years, I had presented a plan that was maybe a little more favorable than the one today in terms of the overall financing. But this has now been impacted by some of our large reserve usage for some of the projects in hand. It's also impacted, obviously, by the EMS base and the upstaffing or resourcing of our vehicles. But it's also impacted just by the last 2 years. It's impacted the fact that we haven't raised our levy to the level that we should have for our capital funding. So I had previously recommended in our last couple plans that we had to be in that 2 to 2.5% range for our levy. And the last 2 years for capital, we've been at that 1.38% and also 1.3. So we've just had some shortfalls in terms of the compounding of our asset management plan funding. So we're just unfortunately in a situation where many of our assets are reaching end of life, not just with our bridges, but also with our facilities. We have a whole aging social housing stock, we have aging facilities, and we have aging long-term care homes. And we're seeing some of the challenges come forward as a result of this old infrastructure that we do have. So we do require a lot of investment over the next 20 years to maintain our current assets. So based on our analysis, not adjusted for inflation over the next 20 years, we're looking at $566 million in terms of required expenditures. 420 of that is strictly roads, bridges, and culverts. We have significant investment that is required with our linear infrastructure. If we actually look at compounding inflation, that $566 million is actually $789 million if I do a 3% compounding for those particular costs. So we are looking at some challenges ahead of us over the next 20 years. So if we actually look at our funding that we do have, within our levy, $9.9 million is tied to expenditures related to our asset management plan. And we have about 8 million in terms of gas tax and OSIF funding that is available from our senior partners. So we have 18 million in terms of annual funding that is available. That's 360 million over 20 years. So just based on the plan itself, we've got about a $200 million shortfall in terms of where we need to be or where we need to get to over the next little while. So really the plan that's before you today, again, it's just draft. It's a sample strategy that's there, but it's only as good as our willingness to raise funds to support our current service levels. So just based on this, to meet this $200 million deficit or shortfall, we have to consider raising our levy by 2.2% annually over the next 20 years, but that's really front loaded. Based on what's coming in 2027 and through 2031 to 2038, we're looking at about 2.99% annually just for capital raised each and every year to support our upcoming expenditures. And these increases are just for the capital levy plus also the debt financing that would be associated with that. We have some reserves. 22 million is tied to capital, but this will assist to smooth in some of these increases over time, and it will be fully utilized over the next 20 years. But where we are seeing the pressure is 2027, based on a proposed base relocation. We've got $2.5 million in reserves for our EMS base, but based on some of the numbers that we've seen, we will be substantially higher in terms of those costs. So we're going to have to look at potentially debt financing that project. And really in 2031 and 2038, that's where we see a lot of our public works expenditures come forward. We're looking at about an average of 30 million a year for that particular time frame. That's not adjusted for inflation. 39 million if we were to adjust that for inflation annually. We do have some operating reserves, but they're going to be required to support our future levy mitigation. We're seeing some operating pressures this year, especially with our winter maintenance budget. We're already at 89% of our budget year to date for winter maintenance. So that's going to impact our surplus going into 26. So we're going to see a lot of pressure in 26, not only on the capital side, but we'll see it on the operating side as well, as we just won't have those surpluses available to roll into our budget to help mitigate any of those future increases. And really, the next 10 years will be a challenge just to maintain low tax rate increases, especially just given our current service levels that we do provide and the levels that we provide them at. It's just not going to be sustainable to maintain these low tax rates and maintain the quality service that we do have. We've got, a road network that's the envy of many in the province, and it's going to require some substantial investment to maintain it at such level. So I'll leave it at that. I'm looking for approval to approve the plan. But again, you're not committing to the strategy. It's there to highlight the challenges that we do have. And these numbers are here to inform our 2026 budget. So.
Thank you, Michael. Past Warden McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you to Michael. There's only two things that I'm going to bother referring to. There's a lot of information there. If we were going to debt finance the relocation of the ambulance base, to me, I don't think you should use our reserves at all. You should debt finance everything that you can out of it for a couple of reasons. One, the province pays half the bill. So they're paying half the interest. And if we don't do any of reserve, we can keep that reserve and collect the interest off it to help offset the interest that we're paying on the 50% that we're debt financing. So I think there's a little bit of an equalization there if in fact we're allowed to run it that way. The other concern I have is that you've given us good reports over the years. And every time when we get to budget, it doesn't matter how much we're supposed to be raising for the future to do our capital projects. We always sit down and we say, okay, what percentage do we want to bring it down to? And that's how county council acts at the end of the day. We don't plan for this long-term thing. Hey, I was party of the whole thing. I said, let's settle on 5% this year, and that's what we settled on. But we've got to come up with some sort of policy or something that acknowledges we need to be putting a certain amount away. Let's do the rest of our budget and acknowledge the fact that that's going to have to be added on at the end of the day to keep us in line. Because if we don't get it in line now, we're going to start to do a lot more debt financing on things that we shouldn't have to have debt financed to begin with. You know, new capital projects like this, when it's a building and it's got a term to it, and it's something that, you know, someone else is paying part of the bill, I think those are great projects for debt financing. I'm not sure that your public roads are something that you want to be 100% financing when you get into structures like that. So I think somehow, and Mike, you've given us the information over and over again, but somehow we've got to come up with some way to guarantee that, all right, we settle our budget, but we acknowledge the fact that it doesn't matter what that percentage is. There's got to be something that gets added on every year just so that we're saving for the future, I guess is what it comes down to. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Councillor Klopp.
Thank you. Regarding moving the base, you've got it built in there, if I heard that right. Have we made a decision how much we're spending in that base? Okay, so we're still, there's an example of when we decide how big that base is, this should weigh on your shoulders about, about the realities. On that, also Bayfield, due to the reports, it's now going to be a 24-hour base coming up. Has anything in your asset management for the other shoe, I'm going to call it, the bricks and mortar, for lack of a better word, has that been thought about in your in this report at all?
Go ahead, Michael.
I will actually defer to the CAO just for her initial comments, but then I can speak to I'll speak to the reserve and some of the questions on that.
CAO work.
Thank you very much. No capital allocations have been included in relation to that particular project. We're still waiting for information from Blue Water on that, I believe.
Michael.
Yep. Thank you, Ward. So in terms of circling back to the reserve usage for the EMS base, so we have a restricted capital reserve for our EMS base. It is 50-50 funded. So any of the allocations that we've been putting into that reserve has been already 50-50 funded from the province. So that's that $2.5 million. So it's not available for just general use for the county. So that's where I would propose to use that, because it has been supported through our rent via EMS. And then anything additional would be debt financed. And that's how we built it into the plan, that extra would be debt financed, and we would be getting that recovery as additional revenue. So that is factored in those numbers. But that 2.5 is 100% restricted to EMS. So.
Thank you for that, Michael. Councillor Klopp, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I thank you for explaining that we need to do something. Just heads up, right now, we have sent a formal letter because, just real quickly, it's been shared in the fire hall, and but now that it's going to go 24% or 24 hours, I think we're having I think there needs to be something to reflect that for the service and for the staff all the way around. So we'll deal with that. Appreciate that. Again, going back to the realities as we sit and see what we'd like to have and what we can afford. And again, the number we always talk about, well, there's reserve money, and there's always been a bit of an argument. Well, don't worry about it. We can spend more because there's a reserve. And clearly we all collectively have to not use that as the argument anymore. It's what you could like and what you can afford. And the crossroads are coming, as you pointed out. I suggest another issue that we maybe have to think about it isn't just adding more tax, but I guess I am of that belief that we also have to look at how we run the operation. I see other industries, public or private, they have a lot of layers of administration, but as it gets tighter on the funding side and they just can't keep increasing their widgets, or in other cases, getting money out of the public to run their things, they amalgamate things. And I guess that is something that we have to decide and start looking at. Because for, 4% increase, we had a 4% increase. I asked for the old budget of way back in 2014. That's a long time ago. Our budget was about half of what we are now. So a 5% increase on 40 million is a whole lot different than a 5% increase on 90. And so to Councillor McClellan's point, doing the same thing over again isn't working. And I think we're going to have whoever's here in these chairs is going to have to start looking at it a little tighter on operating as well in capital. I appreciate your soberness in bringing this stuff to us. But again, it does come back to us.
Thank you for those comments. Any others? Seeing no more, then I would be looking for direction on a motion. There is a prepared motion for us, and that motion will be presented by Councillor McClellan, and Councillor Finch would second that. Those in favor? And that is carried. Item 12 on our agenda is correspondence. Is there anything there that anybody wants to pull and speak to? Councillor Finch.
Yeah, thank you. Through the warden, 12.2 and 12.4, I'd like to see us support those, please.
So 12.2 and 12.4, is there a seconder for that? Councillor Vanstone. Past warden again.
Wasn't it Bill 5 that was just approved by the legislature? Was that Bill 5 for the planning, or is that
That's
7? Disregard those comments. Any other comments before I call the question? Those in favor? That is carried. Anything else under correspondence? Councillor McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. As to Councillor Ginn talking about 12.1, 12.4, and 12.9, they all speak to concerns with Bill 5. I'd like to support that, please. Yes, please.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Finch.
12.4, I believe we just approved.
Yes, we did.
Okay. That's all I have. I'll second.
Okay, so seconded. Those in favor? That also is carried. Right. And we'll need a motion to accept correspondence that was not specifically dealt with. I keep looking at the screen and I finally see a hand. Councillor Goderich. And Councillor Anderson, would you be so kind to second that? Thank you. Those in favor? That is carried. Under new and unfinished business, we have a form of compliance declaration, and Jeff Horseman is available for questions if there would be any. Seeing no questions, then looking for a motion to receive this report as well. And that is Councillor Becker and Councillor Finch seconds that. Those in favor? That is carried. Is there a notice of motion for today's meeting? Seeing none, we do have 5 listed bylaws that we'll be looking for first, second, and third reading. And Councillor Klopp would put that forward. Councillor Heffer would second that. Those in favor? That is carried. We do have a close to the public session, so I'd be looking for a motion to go into closed session, and that is Councillor Harding, and past Warden McNeil would second that. Those in favor? That is carried. Yeah.
At this time, we'll be moving into the close to the public session. For those of you that are attending virtually, I will be sending you a panelist invite. If you'd like to stay till the end of the meeting, you please accept that. If you do not want to stay for the end of the meeting, please just decline or exit the meeting. I'll give you a couple moments to decide that.
Okay, we're back, and I'd be looking for a motion to re-enter our open session of council. Past Warden McClellan, Councillor Dietrich would second that. Those in favor? That is carried, and Megan is going to give us a rise and report from our closed session.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Warden, the purpose of going into closed session today was for council to receive information on labor relations or employee negotiations relating to IUOE bargaining mandate.
Thank you, Megan. And there is a motion for council, and that is for the County of Huron to direct the warden and required staff to execute the IUOE Homes for the Aged Collective Agreement for the term January 2024 to December 31st, 26, and to prepare a bylaw regarding that. So that motion is made by Councillor Finch, seconded by Councillor Klopp. Those in favor? And that is carried. Just want to make you aware of the upcoming meetings. You peruse through that and find out what you're responsible for. Just a special note for the Huron County Council bus tour, Tuesday, June 24th at a new scheduled 8:30 time slot. So just make note of that. And JMB building in Clinton, 8:30, June 24th. And with that, I'd be looking for someone to confirm our actions for the morning. That is Councillor Becker, seconded by Councillor Bazinet. Those in favor? That is carried. Is there anybody that would like to adjourn our meeting today?
So moved.
So moved. And Councillor Heffer would second that. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you for your attention to the details today.